Let's start, though, with the big breaking Formula One news today that both Ferrari drivers have been disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton finished 5th and 6th, but their cars both failed post-race technical checks. Alpine's Pierre Gasly.
The 2025 Chinese Grand Prix delivered a tale of 2 days for Lewis Hamilton, a story that began with triumph and ended in humiliation. The 7-time world champion experienced the highest of highs on Saturday, securing pole position and winning the sprint race in dominant fashion. However, Sunday proved to be a disaster of epic proportions, not just for Hamilton, but for the entire Ferrari team. What should have been a positive weekend for the Scuderia quickly unraveled into one of the most embarrassing moments in their storied history. After finishing 5th and 6th in the main race, both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton were disqualified for technical infractions. This marked the first time in Ferrari's history, dating back to their entry into Formula One in 1950, that both cars were expelled from a Grand Prix. The disqualifications came as a shock to many, but they revealed deeper issues within the team. Hamilton didn't hold back in his criticism of Ferrari's experimental setup changes, calling them mad and vowing never to repeat the mistake again. Let's dive into how this weekend went so wrong for Ferrari and what it means for Hamilton's quest for an 8th world championship. Hamilton's Chinese Grand Prix weekend began in spectacular fashion. He dominated the sprint race from pole position, putting a commanding 4-second gap between himself and Oscar Piastri in the closing laps. This marked his first win with Ferrari, albeit in the shorter sprint format, and seemed to signal that the partnership between the British driver and the Italian team was finally starting to bear fruit. His teammate Charles Leclerc wasn't quite as fortunate, crossing the finish line 12 seconds behind Hamilton in 5th place. Nevertheless, Ferrari had reason for optimism heading into qualifying for Sunday's main event. In an attempt to improve the SF25's performance even further, both Hamilton and Leclerc made setup adjustments ahead of Saturday's qualifying session. This decision would prove disastrous. Rather than enhancing the car's capabilities, the changes sent its performance spiraling downward. As rivals McLaren and Mercedes found their groove, Ferrari stumbled badly. Hamilton and Leclerc could only manage 5th and 6th on the grid, approximately 3/10 off the pace. Hamilton later told this to Sky Sports Italy, "Ultimately, we had a pretty decent car in the sprint, and then we made some changes because we were trying to move forwards and improve the car, and we made it quite a bit worse, basically, going into qualifying. Then it was even worse in the race." The main race continued the downward trend. The trouble began on the opening lap when Hamilton made contact with Leclerc, damaging the Monegasque's front wing. Despite this setback, Leclerc proved faster than Hamilton throughout the race. The 7-time champion acknowledged his struggles and offered to swap positions with his teammate. After some initial resistance, Hamilton let Leclerc through, though this proved somewhat pointless as Max Verstappen eventually caught and passed Leclerc anyway. By the checkered flag, both Ferraris were well off the pace. Hamilton and Leclerc finished 6th and 5th respectively, more than 20 seconds behind race winner Oscar Piastri's McLaren. But the worst was yet to come. Hours after the race, the FIA announced that both Ferrari drivers had been disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix, but for different technical infractions. Hamilton's car failed post-race scrutineering when inspectors discovered that the skid block on his SF25 was below the minimum thickness required by regulations. Measurements of the rearmost skid showed it to be 8.6 millimeters on the left-hand side and car center line, and 8.5 millimeters on the right-hand side, all below the minimum 9 millimeter thickness specified in Article 3.5.9 of the technical regulations.
Just to double confirm while I've got this is your ID pass. Less than the width of this is the margin by which Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the Grand Prix today, but they have to draw the line somewhere, and the team accept there's no mitigating circumstances.
This marked the 3rd disqualification of Hamilton's career. He was previously excluded from the 2009 Australian Grand Prix for providing misleading information to the stewards, and ironically, he lost a 2nd-place finish at the 2023 United States Grand Prix for the exact same skid block infringement while driving for Mercedes. Leclerc's disqualification came for a different reason. His car was found to be 1 kilogram under the legal minimum weight of 800 kilograms. even accounting for the damaged front wing, which was recovered from the track and included in the measurements. And despite being reweighed with a spare front wing, Leclerc's car still fell below the weight requirement after the mandatory fuel sample was taken.
There is a minimum weight for the cars, and that's because the lighter your car, the quicker it goes. It's set at 800 kilograms. Leclerc actually came in and his car was right on the limit. They noticed a bit's fallen off. He had a bit of contact with Lewis, so they put on a new wing. He was back heavier again. But then when they drained the fuel and it's the dry weight of the car, he was a kilogram under, and that's a slam dunk disqualification.
The FIA statement was unequivocal. It read, "During the hearing, the team representative confirmed that the measurement is correct and that all required procedures were performed correctly. The team also acknowledged that there were no mitigating circumstances and that it was a genuine error by the team." Alpine's Pierre Gasly was also disqualified for having an underweight car. This made the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix the first Formula One race since the 2004 Canadian Grand Prix to feature at least 3 disqualifications. At the heart of Ferrari's debacle were the experimental setup changes made between Saturday's sprint and Sunday's qualifying and race. Hamilton was unusually vocal in his criticism of these adjustments, describing them as a mad Ferrari experiment he would never repeat. In an interview with Sky F1, Hamilton attributed the poor race performance directly to these changes. The adjustments, which he revealed had been previously tested by Leclerc in Bahrain, resulted in a significant drop in the car's performance, from the sprint to qualifying and then further deterioration in the race.
Who said that?
No?
I don't know who said that we lifted the car, but no, we made some other changes mostly, but as well as that, but not massively. It's like small amounts. But all the pieces together made it quite a bit worse. So the Charles tested something in Bahrain, and I hadn't tested it, but we both went that way, and it was bad. So I know not to do that again.
Former F1 driver and the Sky pundit Karun Chandhok reinforced Hamilton's assessment. He noted that Hamilton's speed had diminished considerably compared to the sprint, ultimately costing him in the Grand Prix. Chandhok explained that the changing conditions on race day required quick reaction and adaptation, something Ferrari failed to execute with their decision to alter the car's setup ahead of qualifying. While Hamilton didn't specify exactly what changes were made to his SF25, he did dismiss suggestions that adjustments to the car's ride height were solely responsible for his loss of pace. The exact nature of the mad experiment remains somewhat mysterious, but its effects were devastatingly clear. What makes this situation particularly puzzling is that Ferrari should have known better. As F1 expert Bernie Collins pointed out, "I would be surprised that the sprint in China was not a good enough indication that you would be illegal on plankware." Hamilton's disqualification carried an extra sting beyond the lost points. With his exclusion from the race, Hamilton also lost the fastest lap he had set, a 1-minute 35.069, some 0.385 seconds quicker than Lando Norris. This was significant because in setting that lap time, Hamilton had achieved a fastest lap for the 16th consecutive season, breaking the joint record he held with Michael Schumacher of 15 consecutive seasons with a fastest lap. Hamilton's run of fastest laps began at the 2010 Chinese Grand Prix, making the loss of this particular record at the same venue particularly ironic. Remarkably, 2009 remains the only year of Hamilton's career in which he failed to record a fastest lap. Overall, he has 67 fastest laps to his name, still 10 behind Schumacher's all-time record of 77. The double disqualification proved costly for Ferrari in terms of championship points. Leclerc lost 10 points from his fifth-place finish, while Hamilton lost 8 points from finishing sixth. In total, Ferrari missed out on 18 valuable points in the Constructors' Championship. As a result, Ferrari dropped to fifth in the team standings, falling behind Williams and sitting a distant 61 points behind leaders McLaren in a season where the margin NS between Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes are expected to be tight. These lost points could prove pivotal. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur has just made a bold decision following Lewis Hamilton's shocking team radio issues in Australia. This could be a game changer for the 7-time world champion's adaptation at Ferrari. What happens next might define his entire 2025 season. Let us discuss the chaos of the Australian Grand Prix, where Lewis Hamilton's first race with Ferrari went from bad to worse. Lewis Hamilton's much-anticipated Ferrari debut was supposed to be the start of a new chapter. Instead, it quickly turned into a nightmare. The Australian Grand Prix was filled with unpredictable weather, tricky strategy calls, and, most notably, chaotic radio exchanges between Hamilton and his new race engineer, Riccardo Adami. At multiple points, Hamilton was heard on the team radio telling Adami to leave him to it, signaling his frustration over a flood of information that felt more distracting than helpful. This starkly contrasted with the seamless communication he had with his longtime Mercedes engineer, Peter Bonington, aka Bono. Ferrari's structured, detail-heavy communication approach was at odds with Hamilton's preference for clarity and efficiency, creating an unnecessary distraction in a high-pressure race.
And 4 burnouts, repeat, at the DRS line, 4 burnouts. Go mode X and gate 1, mode X, gate 1.
As if communication struggles weren't enough, Ferrari's race strategy only made things worse. When rain hit mid-race, most teams quickly pitted for intermediate tires. Ferrari, however, gambled on keeping Hamilton out, hoping for a brief shower instead of a downpour. Big mistake. Hamilton, who had briefly led the race, plummeted to 10th as his slick tires became useless in worsening conditions. The delayed pit stop decision cost him dearly, leaving fans and analysts questioning Ferrari's strategic decision-making. After the race, Vasseur didn't mince words. "We made the wrong call," he admitted. But what he did next took everyone by surprise. Rather than brushing off the radio disaster as growing pains, Vasseur took full responsibility and vowed immediate improvements. "It's the first race, the first time we have to communicate between the pit wall and the car," he stated. "We need to find a better way, but we will learn from this. It's not an issue for the long term." But that's not all. Vasseur has already begun implementing changes ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix to fix Ferrari's communication flaws. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Ferrari is cutting down on non-essential updates during high-pressure moments. In other words, the team is ensuring that Hamilton only hears what's absolutely necessary, particularly during critical situations such as overtakes, tire degradation phases, and strategic calls. By doing so, they aim to keep his focus sharp and prevent unnecessary distractions that could impact his performance on the track. Moreover, the team is adopting a set of clear, pre-agreed phrases for different race situations to minimize confusion. This means that Hamilton will receive vital information, such as tire wear updates or gaps to his rivals, in the shortest and most effective way possible. As a result, communication between the driver and the team will be more streamlined, reducing the chances of misinterpretation in high-stakes moments. To further enhance this approach, Ferrari is implementing dedicated communication drills before each Grand Prix. These drills are designed to ensure that both Hamilton and his race engineer are completely aligned on how and when crucial information should be delivered. Consequently, this will help build a stronger understanding between them, allowing for quicker decision-making during the race. In addition to refining communication, Ferrari is also reviewing its strategy call process to eliminate hesitation. Once a decision is made, it will be executed immediately, without second-guessing or unnecessary delays. This proactive approach is intended to prevent costly indecision, ensuring that Ferrari can respond swiftly to changing race conditions and maximize their competitive edge. The F1 world exploded with reactions. While some praised Vasseur for his honesty, others were skeptical about Ferrari's ability to turn things around. One fan commented, "I have heard Lewis say, 'Don't talk to me in the braking zone' or ask for more communication when he wasn't getting anything before. There was a point in Las Vegas 2024, Lewis was hunting down Russell, and Bono got on the radio, which caused Lewis to lock up and lose time. It ended the hunt. Then what about Spa 2024, when Lewis was not told Russell was one stopping at all? It is not all perfect. I do feel Lewis might need a younger race engineer, but I am glad Lewis is standing up." Former F1 driver Paul di Resta weighed in, saying, "Hamilton's frustration is understandable. He's used to a well-oiled machine at Mercedes. Ferrari needs to step up." Meanwhile, Sky Sports' Ted Kravitz added, "This isn't just about communication, it's about trust. Hamilton needs to trust his team. And right now, that's clearly missing." Ferrari's communication struggles aren't new. Sebastian Vettel's infamous multi-21 incident and Michael Schumacher's strategy blunders prove that. But with Vasseur at the helm, there's cautious optimism. He's known for his no-nonsense approach and ability to turn teams around. Can he finally break the cycle? Ferrari's communication issues aren't anything new. They've had trouble getting things right for years. Think back to Sebastian Vettel's famous multi-21 controversy where team orders caused chaos, or the many strategy mistakes during Michael Schumacher's time, when bad calls from the pit wall made races harder than they needed to be. Ferrari has a habit of making things difficult for itself, but now there's a reason to be hopeful. With Fred Vasseur leading the team, things could finally change. He's known for being direct, making smart decisions, and fixing struggling teams. If anyone can steer Ferrari in the right direction, it's him. But can he finally break this pattern of mistakes and turn Ferrari into a well-oiled machine? That's the big question. Shanghai is a track Lewis Hamilton knows better than almost anyone. He's raced there many times and won an incredible 6 times, more than any other driver in F1 history. He's comfortable on this circuit, but this year, things are different. He's driving a new car, working with a new team, and facing fresh challenges that could make his usual dominance in China much harder to achieve. Ferrari has been working to fix some of the issues that held them back earlier in the season. If their adjustments pay off, Hamilton could have a much better race in Shanghai. But if the same miscommunication problems continue, it will only add to the pressure on him to deliver results. Another major challenge? His battle within the team against Charles Leclerc. Leclerc also struggled in Australia, but he still managed to finish ahead of Hamilton. If this keeps happening, people will start questioning whether Hamilton can truly adapt to Ferrari's way of doing things and whether he can still be the top driver in the team. So what's the takeaway? Hamilton's Ferrari debut was far from perfect, but Vasseur's response gives fans a glimmer of hope. Whether these changes are enough to turn the season around remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, the drama is just getting started. The Chinese Grand Prix isn't just another race. It's Ferrari's first real test under pressure. If they fail again, Hamilton's dream move could turn into a nightmare. One thing's for sure, this drama is just beginning. The 2025 Formula One season begins with a bang this weekend at the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. All eyes will be on 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton as he makes his highly anticipated Ferrari debut after 12 years at Mercedes. In a statement ahead of his first race in the iconic Ferrari Red, Lewis Hamilton delivered a warning that reveals the immense psychological battle he's facing. Hamilton said this during Thursday's press conference.
Through the years, the pressure that I put on myself has always been 10 times higher than any other pressure that can be put upon me. And I think I've not joined this team and been made to feel any pressure. I have an expectation from myself. I know what I can bring. I know I can deliver. I know what it's going to take to do that, and it's just getting you ahead.
This stunning admission shows Hamilton's mindset as he prepares for what could be the most challenging chapter of his illustrious career. The British driver, now 40 years old, is under extraordinary scrutiny following his blockbuster move to the Scuderia. But can he handle the weight of expectation that comes with driving for F1's most famous team? Hamilton further emphasized his cautious approach. He said, "No expectations this weekend, just getting used to this new car." Is this Hamilton managing expectations, or is there genuine concern about Ferrari's competitiveness? When asked directly if he's happy with the Ferrari car, Hamilton responded,
Yeah, so far I definitely feel so. The first few days we've only had obviously 3 days in the car, but it's difficult to know where we stand with everyone else, but we just try to keep our heads down and just focus on our job. It was, Carlos was incredibly quick. Kimi was really quick. It was difficult to know who's where, but it looks like it's going to be close between us all.
Despite these measured words, Hamilton couldn't hide his excitement.
This is the most exciting period of my life.
A man reborn, or setting himself up for disappointment. Make no mistake, this isn't just another driver changing teams. This is the biggest transfer in Formula One history. Hamilton's move to Ferrari has already generated financial earthquakes in the F1 world. Ferrari merchandise sales have skyrocketed by an astonishing 400% following the announcement. The company's value rose more than 10% to nearly £5.5 billion after revealing Hamilton would join their ranks. Hamilton's first Ferrari-related Instagram post became the most liked F1 post of all time on the platform, accumulating a mind-blowing 5.7 million likes. The hype surrounding this partnership is unprecedented.